former executive director of GASP and has led the Citizens Science Smoke Readers Program, which has helped citizens monitor local industrial and emission plumes for over 15 years. Sue has a Master's of Public Management degree from Carnegie Mellon University and a Bachelor's of Science degree in Biology Education from Pennsylvania State University. Before working for GASP, Sue taught biology and other science courses at Perry High School and at Zoar Home. Thank you, Kevin and Sue, for being here today.
Thank you. And shall I begin now, right now, just to make sure?
Yeah. Yeah, are you good, Kevin? Yep.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, just 2 seconds while get the right presentation up. Well, let's do it this way. And I will just all right. And thank you. Sorry for the lateness. Want to indicate that the outline for my talk will be on wood burning emissions, health impacts, and cancer. Also talking about some issues around refuse burning and its composition impacts, health impacts, and some changes over time, and something in the news, and ending with a few policy notes. So for wood burning, we have emissions along the lines of certainly all of these, and you know, fine particle pollution, people are familiar. I don't know if people are seeing this funny little box here or not of this other speakers, but the fine particle pollution, people are familiar with this diagram, and of course you can see there's that log on the picture is the human hair. There are some smaller particles that are shown crossing that, and then even tinier than those, the largest of the finest particles, PM 2.5, are shown as well. So those can get into the deepest parts of the lungs and cause health impacts. Carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides certainly are known irritants for lung problems. Volatile organic compounds, I'll give you a little bit on that as well. Metals, we include arsenic and lead. And climate change pollution, there are certainly carbon dioxide from burning wood and methane as well. The organic compound list, and again, this is just a you know, a few prominent ones out of the hundreds. Those are just, you know, some broad categories I gave on the last slide. But you know, benzene, formaldehyde, petroleum, these are certainly known compounds with known health effects. Phenols, cresols, people have heard of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons from from a number of different sources when you have smoldering organic matter. And dioxins and furans as well are serious compounds affecting lung health and health generally. This is a common mental image people have of wood burning. You know, we think of the roasting the marshmallows, a small fire. You know, you still have to avoid some of the smoke, but the idea is that this is a family event and so on. At the same time, the reality does include this. You know, we know that it's not unusual for some areas for residential wood burning to contribute 10% or a third or more of a community's load of fine particle pollution. And that's not to mention wildfires and their growing impacts. And we are not exempt from them in the eastern part of the United States. We think of this often as a Western United States phenomenon, but we are downwind, and the health impacts also come home to us as well. In terms of health effects, we have a number of things. Certainly short-term health effects can be the obvious: irritation, inflammation, eyes, throat, sinuses, lungs, headache. But it's obvious that there's reduced lung function, especially in children, increased risk of lower respiratory infections. And that little asterisk there is to remind me to tell you that this increase has been observed for things like pneumonia, of course, but there's every reason to believe that this also means an increased susceptibility to COVID and other such lung diseases. So note that children and seniors are also among the more susceptible groups for lower respiratory infections and these health effects. Certainly worsened symptoms from people with existing lung diseases, so people with asthma, emphysema, pneumonia, bronchitis from other causes, this exacerbates the problem that they have. So it may end up resulting with those folks having greater problems with needing to go to the doctor, emergency department visits, hospitalizations, and increased risk of heart attack and stroke. There are long-term effects as well that are associated with wood burning, or sometimes are known to be caused by wood burning. Chronic lung disease, including chronic bronchitis and emphysema. There are chemical and structural changes in the lungs that are observed. Neurodegenerative diseases, we're talking about dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Those are recognized as well as associated with wood burning. Cancer, and the contribution here, association with certain obvious ones like lung, but also there's good evidence with respect to breast cancer, esophageal cancer, bladder cancer. And of course, one long-term effect is premature death, and that needs to be mentioned as well. In terms of cancer impacts, certainly we know some things already. Fine particulate matter recognized by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, Group 1 as a known carcinogen. Benzene, of course, Group 1 as a known carcinogen. Certainly associated with leukemia. Formaldehyde, Group 1. The other ones here, acetaldehyde and acrolein, these aldehydes are recognized as either possible or probable carcinogens. And so it's more a matter of whether there's been enough research to really get to the bottom of actually demonstrating causation. But there's every reason to believe that this association is strong and needs to be pursued. The phenols and cresols in organic compounds, biologically active, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. They range the whole way from Group 1. Some of them are known to be a cause of cancer, all the way through Group 2B as possible causes. But the idea is that there's this whole raft of chemicals, hundreds of chemicals in wood smoke that are associated with all these kinds of outcomes. I did want to mention too, there was an example, I wanted to be clear here. There was an example of a paired sister study back in 2017 that showed on the order of a 10% higher risk of breast cancer in homes that had indoor wood stove or fireplace. And it approached 20% with frequency of use than in those homes without. And so that was an example of something showing this link with breast cancer. And of course, there's no need to wait for cancer to be produced, to be induced in someone. Anyone who's been downwind of a wood fire knows, of course, that there are significantly acutely irritating compounds in that smoke, and that's telling your body something. This study here is particularly instructive for today's focus. University of Utah studies catchment area includes the Salt Lake City Basin, known for its winter inversions and the heavy contribution wood smoke makes to the area's particle pollution load. And so the idea is that there are some chemotherapies that make the lungs of childhood cancer survivors more susceptible to fine particle pollution. And those chemotherapy-treated childhood cancer survivors in Utah study were about twice as likely for every 10 micrograms per cubic meter increase to be hospitalized for respiratory causes or respiratory infection. And so that's an example of one study. And then also the epidemiological findings do support, this is for adults with cancer, support the ideas that air pollution exposures after lung cancer diagnosis impair chemotherapy treatment and shorten survival. And there are examples of up to about a third worse mortality for standard deviation. So like for folks who are in the top, you know, one sixth of the population, that would put you in the worst category. Those people clearly are showing early stage lung problems with survival among early stage lung cancer patients from those studies. And in Pennsylvania, that's especially associated with nitrogen dioxide in the wood smoke. And in California study, both nitrogen dioxide and particle pollution showed that kind of increase about people with cancer being more susceptible. And then refuse burning, did want to note that there is this, of course, variety from huge piles of trash burning to the backyard burn barrel. The thing about waste burning is that, you know, it's like wood burning, but it's worse. Composition of the materials burned is not only the wood, but also all these other things. So polyvinyl chloride plastics, polystyrene plastics, bleached or coated paper products, and, you know, cardboard. This often includes, you know, chlorine as part of that process. Coated paper products often include heavy metals, particle board, fiber board, plywood, lots of formaldehyde and resins in there. Pressure treated wood can often have, you know, metals like arsenic. And furniture, you know, you're talking about your urea formaldehyde foam, surface treatments. There's all sorts of stuff and junk, you know, in this mix. And it's not only, you know, the typical wood burning emissions then you get from this stuff, but you also get more of those, you know, benzene, formaldehyde, acid gases, including hydrochloric acid. The hydrochloric acid is coming, you know, when you have lots of chlorine in your waste material. Hydrogen cyanide is coming from when you have things like lots of nitrogen-bearing compounds, like for instance, urea formaldehyde foam is an example. Heavy metals, other toxic metals, you know, so you have, you know, that whole list. And then you also, again, because you have chlorine, phosgene, and halogenated hydrocarbons, especially those dioxins and furans, are much more produced in trash burning than in wood burning. So you have cancer, you know, typical health impacts. You have these kinds of things, obvious things, you know, so the cancer from the carcinogens, such as from dioxin, immune system dysfunction, interference with red blood cell production, liver and kidney deterioration, and neurologics in coordination and IQ, in addition to the, you know, the dementia-related effects I mentioned earlier. Reproductive and birth-related impacts are also associated with these emissions. And this gives you an idea here. This is you know, an idea of some change here. For those of you who remember the last century, things are different now. It used to be easy to take the burnable trash of your household out to the barrel. In 15 minutes, you were done. You know, you'd burned all that paper trash away, because that's what it mostly was. 21st century has seen a drastic increase in plastics and other less recoverable wastes. So people who go and take their household trash out to the burn barrel are much more likely to stick around a while, and also more likely to breathe more dangerous byproducts of trash, such as the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and dioxins. And that other category at the bottom of the page can also include things like how people throw everything into burn piles, and it includes stuff like that as well. So some of you may remember that, let's call it the discussion in Congress this past summer about support for veterans who were exposed to burn pit smoke during their service in the Middle East. And as a result, then finally Congress did pass the PACT Act that expanded the VA healthcare and benefits for those veterans who were exposed to burn pits and other substances from other kinds of things. But, you know, while there's some distinctions that can be made in terms of, you know, the material composition that they were burning, the quantities burned, the durations of their exposure, you know, there are many similarities between what people, you know, in the Middle East burning at burn pits were exposed to and domestic trash burning. You know, the list of emitted pollutants, you know, looks much the same. You know, the list of anticipated health impacts look a lot the same. Now there are certainly it did. I wanted to show you this. The PACT Act did expand the types of cancers that are now presumed to be service-connected disabilities, and this gives you an idea of that list. Now not all of those are burn pit specific, but since that is clearly an obvious source of risky exposure, this gives you an idea of the types of things that the VA is now regarding as reasonably connected to that exposure. And there's nothing magic about it being in the Middle East compared to it being in someone's backyard. Sure, as I say, there are some differences, but at the same time, when you throw a whole lot of different chemicals together and you combust them in an uncontrolled way, you're going to get a lot of byproducts in the atmosphere, a lot of pollutants, a lot of contaminants that are going to affect people's health in ways that you're not going to be able to predict as easily as someone would say, oh, this is safe trash to burn and this is unsafe trash to burn. No, it's not like that. To conclude here, before I give the floor over to Sue, I do want to emphasize, the Lung Association recognizes everyone's right to breathe clean air. We don't support things like sacrifice zones or policy exceptions. The idea is that we want everyone to breathe clean air. The Lung Association does recognize that pollution from the combustion of wood and other biomass sources, and this of course extends to trash burning as well, poses a significant threat to human health, supports measures to transition away from using wood and biomass for heat production. And then of course, we first support the principles of reducing waste materials, reusing them, recycling, composting them. But the Lung Association urges the use of safe non-combustion alternatives to dispose of all remaining waste. And if waste materials finally, after all that, are combusted, we're calling for state-of-the-art pollution controls. Those must be required with the end goal of then phasing rapidly out of combustion. And I'll stop there and turn it back to everyone. Thank you.
We have a couple questions, but I think we'll save them right till the end.
Right, that's what I thought you were doing. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And Andre, do you have Sue's? Andre?
Yes, I'm getting it right now for you.
Okay. Maybe while he's getting them, you can answer, Kevin. One of the
sure, by all means.
Is vaping a safer alternative?
No, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, the Lung Association, opposes the whole idea of vaping nicotine products just simply because you're still, encouraging addiction, especially among children who are then, condemned to a lifetime of having been addicted to this product, and often then are not limiting their exposures to only vaping, but also then engage in using other tobacco products such as smoking and so on. We also know that there are lots of unknowns about what's included in vaping products and in vaping, what people are actually breathing. And given those realities, it's like, you might want to jump out of this frying pan, but are you sure where you're going? And so from that perspective, the Lung Association, encourages people to use known programs to help completely remove nicotine from their bodies. And there are programs to help people do that. And I'll let it go to Sue now, I think.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hi. So Kevin has told us about wood smoke and the detrimental chemicals that are being produced and their health effects. And many people know this, and certainly people in neighborhoods are bothered and worried about excessive wood smoke. But then there's other people who know that wood smoke is an example that's coming from a renewable source of wood, or so they think. And it's inexpensive to burn in the face of rising electric and gas prices. And so you have two camps of people. And that is problematic and it's the place where we exist right now. But the health effects of wood smoke, as Kevin has pointed out, are pretty bad. And we need to certainly try to reduce that wood smoke as best we can. So what can we do and where can we go? What are we doing? So Andre, next slide. Well, one strategy is forecasting and notification to the public when you're going to have a bad day. Allegheny County has established a watch and a warning episodic alert system to notify the public, and especially people in the Mon Valley, when these communities may experience air quality conditions due to rising particulate matter concentration. During a watch or warning, among other pollution reduction activities in industry, all outdoor wood burning activity in the Mon Valley is prohibited except for the commercial preparation of food. Air quality action days are usually called by Pennsylvania and its regional partnerships when the air is expected to be unhealthy for various areas in Pennsylvania that may include all of Allegheny County, not just the Mon Valley. Using a color-coded scale, the air quality index, for example, a code orange, could be called when particulates or ozone reach a level unhealthy for sensitive groups of people. Affected Pennsylvania residents are asked to refrain from wood burning, but Allegheny County prohibits open burning and outdoor fires on air quality action days. You can sign up for both the Mon Valley alerts and air quality action alerts. Next slide, please. Another strategy that has been used in Allegheny County is replacing or collecting older and dirtier wood burning equipment. Allegheny County had a wood stove collection program in 2013-14 to get rid of older wood burning stoves or wood boilers. The county air program collected over 100 wood stoves and one boiler and gave out gift cards for $200 for the stoves and $500 for the boiler. A similar voucher program was used to encourage gas installation in the fireplaces rather than using the fireplace alone to burn wood. So, some of these activities have been tried and some of them have worked pretty well. Next slide, please. Wood burning occurs indoors and out. In this talk, I will lean a little more to indoor burning since winter's almost here. Note that even without consideration, though, for outdoor burning, there is a lot of wood burning activity. Some type of wood burning is used as an energy source in 8.8% of all US households in 2020. Wood smoke is often a hyper-local problem that may not be reflected at nearby monitors and may get little attention. Citizens can and should make complaints to local enforcement agencies. The issue may not be on an agency's radar until it is reported. Next slide. So starting with indoor heating, how do some of the wood burners compare? The hierarchy from dirtier to cleaner puts the basic fireplace at the dirtier end of the list and electric heat at the cleaner end. Note that when wood burning is involved in the neighborhood, fine particle pollutants inside homes can reach up to 70%.
Did we lose Sue? Sue? All right. Andre, can you still hear me? Kevin, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. Hi, Andre. Andre is there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know if we lost
I-
Sue.
Yes.
Maybe we should just go to the questions. Kevin, can we do that until we get her back?
Until we get Sue back. Yeah, sure. By all
Okay.
means.
All right, so I have questions. Are all fine particles PM 2.5 the same, and do they have the same health impact? In other words, if we
No.
ignore other components of air pollution like VOCs, is PM 2.5 from burning wood more or less dangerous to health compared with PM 2.5 from burning coal, oil, gas, candles, food, etc.? Is there a difference in risk than what accounts for the difference?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, not all PM particles are the same, and that's certainly recognized. We at the same time, there are issues around, not only composition, but also the size, how well they get into the deepest parts of the body. Are they even ultrafine, to the extent that they can then pass into the bloodstream and affect the body that way. There may be some folks who are actually on this call who might have some direct knowledge themselves, who can actually answer the question better than I as to which kinds are better. I know that there's a body of research that people are adding to in terms of trying to do the speciation and understanding the health effects respectively. It becomes something that we recognize that wood smoke is among the more hazardous. We know that the carbon content is something that includes many of these the PAHs that we are recognizing as hazardous from a cancer point of view. We also know that that kind of stuff, compared to, for instance, crustal material, is much more likely to contain chemicals that have active chemical impacts on the body, so that they would be irritants and also bringing what they call reactive oxygen species into the body that then ultimately can lead to cancer. So that's one of the problems that we're recognizing already with the idea of fine particles from wood smoke. At the same time, there's no need, I think, to stress about the details in terms of differences among types of fine particles. The basic idea is this stuff is plenty dangerous, and I'm not looking to give folks an excuse to say, oh, well, we don't need to worry about this particular kind of fine particle because it's not as bad. No, it's even the fine particles that are on the lower end of the risk spectrum are still plenty hazardous for health. So, but if anyone wants to add to that, please do.
What about a candle? I know we're talking about wood and debris. What about candle burning?
Well, I think the idea is that, yeah, sure. Candles, if anyone has burned a candle or had candles burning for a long enough period of time, it becomes obvious at some point that there is this sooty deposition. So even if though the candle looks bright and nice and cheery, it doesn't mean that it's perfectly, a harmless activity. And so I think the idea is more a matter of, look, I'm not asking folks to not have a birthday cake, but the idea is that, moderation is important. The amount of exposure is important, not only the amount, not only the quality of the emissions, but how much are you breathing? So we recognize that there is a certain aspect where, folks who are heavily exposed are going to be more at risk. But candles aren't off the hook altogether. It's a matter of recognizing that there is this spectrum of exposure and risk.
You have Sue back?
Sue, are you there,
I'm
please?
here.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I'm here.
Did we lose you for a minute, Sue?
No, I was here.
What we lost. I know we lost your sound to us. So you may have been speaking, but we couldn't hear you, I think.
Okay, shall I just pick up?
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Andre, do you have the slides?
Yep. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So
I think before this one though, yeah.
Okay, so I think we went over this one.
Yeah, but we may not have heard everything. I can't remember where we lost you.
Oh, okay. All right, so wood burning occurs indoors and out. In this talk, I will lean to indoor wood burning as winter is almost here. Note that even without consideration for outdoor burning, there is a lot of wood burning activity. Some type of wood burning is used as an energy source in 8.8% of all US households in 2020. Wood smoke is often a hyperlocal problem that may not be reflected at nearby monitors and may get little attention. Citizens can and should make complaints to local enforcement agencies. The issue may not be on an agency's radar until it is reported. Next slide. So starting with indoor heating, how do some of the wood burners compare? The hierarchy from dirtier to cleaner puts the basic fireplace at the dirtier end of the list and electric heat at the cleaner end. Note that when wood burning is involved in the neighborhood, fine particle pollutants inside homes can reach up to 70% of the pollution levels outdoors. So shutting windows and doors may not prevent unhealthy, very fine particulate matter getting inside the home. Running one or more air cleaner could help. An inexpensive homemade air cleaner simply straps a robust air filter to a box fan. Next slide. Many regulations are trying to decrease wood smoke problems. The more you familiarize yourself with the burning equipment and regulations, the better you'll be able to present a discussion with a neighbor or a regulator. At the federal level, one strategy for reducing unhealthy wood smoke is basically to create limits. EPA has authority through the Clean Air Act to set emission standards called nuisance performance standards for new and modified stationary sources, in this case, residential wood heaters, that may be expected to contribute to air pollution affecting public health and welfare. So as you can see, through step one in 2015 and step two in 2020, the allowable particulate concentration is being reduced. These standards are especially targeted to the manufacturers and retailers of the stove. The manufacturers are free to uniquely design their stoves as long as the stoves meet the emission limits under approved EPA testing and at approved laboratories. These standards will not apply to older wood heaters, but only step two certified wood stoves may be sold or installed after March 15, 2020. Therein is a problem in that many older, less efficient wood stoves will remain. It's a neighborhood burning situation is bothersome. Gather the neighbors to possibly discuss the health and welfare situation of the neighborhood. Together, you might suggest to a problematic wood burner neighbor the cleaner new wood burners or just to not burn. Next slide. So how then do you make a wood stove less polluting? Lower emissions that meet the NSPS standards are primarily achieved through two stove types. The secondary burn type on the right has a baffle or a plate that will keep the gases inside the firebox longer so that the gases will have a better chance to burn. Additionally, multiple streams of preheated air are vented into the burn area and will add to a more complete combustion process. Another type of wood stove has a catalyst that causes the wood smoke emissions to burn at a lower temperature and to burn more completely. The catalyst metals are coated in the holes of a honeycomb type device through which the smoke will pass. Some stoves are hybrid of both. If friends or family have wood stoves, you could tell them about the cleaner option or suggest not burning, which would be my best choice. Next. Older built-in fireplaces are very inefficient heaters. A lot of the heat is going up the chimney. The draft may also pull additional radon through the house. More efficient fireplaces that are pre-built with a firebox essentially in the hearth are available. There is an option also to have a gas-fueled fire log fireplace, or again, just skip the burning. 9, outdoor wood boilers. Next slide. Another wood burner is the outdoor and indoor wood boiler. An outdoor wood boiler is usually housed in a shed. It heats water that is then transported into a home, barn, or other area for heating or hot water. The allowable emission limits in step 2 boilers are also being reduced. This is a bigger operation than the wood stoves. There are property line setback regulations as well as stack height requirements for the boiler. It's a little different in Allegheny County and the state. Make sure a neighborhood boiler meets all their requirements. Next slide. Not to neglect outdoor burning, here are a few of the requirements in Allegheny County that stand out for residential wood burning. Permitting only certain fuels and the burning area restriction is adding some strength, not a lot, to these regulations. Municipal regulations are quite variable and can strengthen county or state regulations. So that's a place for people to get to work. Next slide. The regulations created at each level of authority must be at least and maybe more stringent than the jurisdiction above it. At the municipal level, residents especially have an opportunity to attend appropriate municipal meetings to suggest better wood smoke control ideas. Getting concerned neighbors together, photographs and video can help make a case. Note also that where recycling occurs, one can't burn materials required to be recycled. Here are some progressive ideas from other areas of the country to better control wood smoke. In the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, new building construction may no longer include the installation of wood burning devices, including fireplaces, EPA certified wood stoves or inserts, or pellet fueled devices. Puget Sound puts limits on visibility and opacity, making it illegal to smoke out your neighbors. In Washington, the state assesses a $30 fee on the sale of every wood burning device to fund education and enforcement of wood burning devices. So there's a lot of information online that people could research and perhaps suggest to municipal authorities and make some improvements. Next slide. I participated, and so did some other people on this line today, in an Allegheny County Air Program subcommittee to produce wood burning educational material several years ago. And I thought this was the best advice in the brochures. So this is directly from Allegheny County Health Department. Allegheny County Health Department encourages everyone to utilize best burning practices to minimize smoke production from fires, but also asks you to remember that while you can decrease the impact an outdoor fire has on your health and the health of your neighbors, the safest fire for everyone is no fire at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, I think I addressed all the questions in the chat. Does anybody have any other ones that I didn't address? You can go ahead and just ask them now. Jonathan, did you have one? Not.
I just asked if there are any efforts to chemically sanitize burn materials ahead of time. Are there any processes that they can remove glue from, like the chip particle board before it gets burned, or any other like abatement ways to deal with the problem?
Well, in Allegheny County, I don't think you'd be allowed to burn that. So I think regulations address the type of things that can be burned. That is one way. As to actually changing the chemical constituency, I don't know about that.
Yeah, let me toss in an idea here as well. I'm not aware, I have not heard of any kind of process that would be proposed to accomplish that. In other words, to somehow sanitize a particular substrate in order to be able to burn it cleanly otherwise. The issue, I think, about combustion is that combustion itself is something that by its nature creates, so many of these products. So for instance, if I could remove all of the resins from particle board, I'd still have the wood left. If somehow magically I could sort of separate these two, which I don't think would be possible in any kind of, economically effective way. But even if somehow I could, and I'm burning the wood, the idea is that the wood still is this inhomogeneous fuel that the way most people would use it, if they're talking about, household fires or open burning, is going to end up creating all of these all of these bad chemicals that then are going as air pollutants, and that people will have health effects from. And in fact, we already know that municipal waste combustion facilities, which is not something that the Lung Association supports as the first method of approach to dealing with waste, but we do recognize that it creates many more pollutants, or rather it creates much less air pollution than open burning without controls, because municipal waste combustion facilities are generally required to have certain controls in place that may reduce the amount of pollution on a per mass of input basis on the order of 10 or I should say on the order of 10,000 or something, that kind of a factor. So you would have much less air pollution coming out of a well-controlled facility than you would out of your backyard burn barrel. And that's certainly the way people would be burning wood for the most part in their own houses. But even when people are looking at biomass, one of the basic understandings about why people are burning biomass is because they're looking at it as a cheaper alternative than some other kinds of energy sources. And say, oh, well, there's all these trees growing, let's just cut them down and burn them. And the whole idea about the costs that are externalized aren't really properly accounted for in that kind of a process. So what happens is that then everyone ends up paying the price in terms of their health, just simply because somebody is saying, well, let's use this cheaper alternative, but it's only cheaper if you don't count all the costs.
Thank you. I have another one. Is propane fuel safe?
I think the idea is that we recognize that more homogeneous fuels produce less air pollution, for the amount of energy you get than inhomogeneous fuels. So comparing wood, for instance, to propane, yes, properly tuned propane burner is going to produce less air pollution per energy created for home heat. At the same time, we still recognize propane is a fossil fuel. We have a problem with fossil fuels being the basis for the climate change problem that we have, combustion of fossil fuels, and so that's part of the mix that we need to transition from. So the object there is to try to get to clean, renewable sources of energy, and not depend upon climate change as what we're and not depend on fossil fuels as something in the face of the climate change problem that we have.
What about fake logs like Duraflame?
Yeah, I've heard the name. I'm not abundantly familiar with the specific composition of that. The idea is that if you're doing combustion, then there are going to be air pollution impacts, and what those are, I don't know offhand how to characterize what they would be, but it's certainly something I suppose someone could do some research on and find out.
All right, I think. Oh wait, do soy candles adversely affect health? What about around the therapy candles? And I think it's going to be the combustion
Well, right. It's well, that'd be the fundamental question in terms of health impacts is, what are you doing with the candle? Are you sort of like, putting a towel over your head over the candle and breathing the, or, the real issue is sort of, what are the combustion products that the candle emits? In other words, that's what you need to find out. And anytime you're burning, the candle disappears at the end of, your use of it. Where did it go? And if it's not all, if you will, the idea that the chemical in the aromatherapy candle is only the thing that you want to breathe, the carrier for that chemical that you're breathing is also something that you're putting into the air and is in the process of combustion, creating all the whole list of stuff that I mentioned. So it's going to be black carbon soot. It's going to be some products of incomplete combustion like aldehydes and acid gases and whatever. Those are the things that people are going to be breathing as well. Generally speaking, in a large room, one candle is probably not a large concentration. It's a brief exposure, but at the same time, recognize that sometimes people are interested in selling their product, not necessarily in recognizing all of the outputs of it.
All right.
Sue, I don't know if you had anything to add. I've been blabbering away here, but
I guess from the standpoint of candles, just to say that a lot of people just view them as wonderful additions and don't even really think about air pollution. Sometimes burning candles, you can see on the ceiling a soot spot where
right.
The candle is, usually located at a particular table or something. So it's just that a lot of education, I think, is needed. So that's what I would say about candles. They're not really good, maybe for birthday cake.
And I think with COVID, that even sort of went out the window. It's not good to even have candles on birthday cakes is not good anymore either. So I think Jonathan said the take home is don't burn stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Jonathan.
Yeah, that is right. Just an added note, when we first had COVID in Allegheny County, it was recommended not to be doing any wood burning for the whole time that we had COVID. And that just makes the point that wood burning is not healthy. And there was a real concern when people had COVID and were struggling to breathe, that they needed to know that. So
right.
Thankfully, that piece of education got out there. Again, it's kind of education. We need more education. And as Kevin has been pointing out, there's a lot of bad chemicals that can be produced from this combustion process. Things are changed and new chemicals are formed and so forth.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you. That was great information. Appreciate it. Want everybody to know that our next webinar is going to be building healthier play spaces, surfaces, health environment hazards of materials in artificial and playground surfaces and safer alternatives. That's going to be on Thursday, January 5th at noon with Dr. Rachel Massey. So look for that to be coming out on both the Cancer and Environment Network website and Cancer Bridges. Also, this recording will, like we said, be available on both websites as well. So that concludes today's webinar, and thank you everybody for attending, and thank you Kevin and Sue for speaking to us today.
Okay. Thanks very much, folks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.